This is the Alberni Weather Podcast for November 21st, 2024. And we are still recovering from the storm. I thought I would start with the picture of the storm that it remains. So this was a bomb cyclone, and as it was, it still remains very much intact as far as being able to see it on the satellite pictures. It never got past about 130 west, so that's why we didn't see the low pressure 950 hectopascals in our location, but that's you know, plenty strong enough to have caused a huge amount of damage. So I'm just going to have lots of tabs open here because I have lots of things I want to talk about. So just looking at the road situation, I drove in on Highway 4 today, and it was okay. Lots of debris on the side of the road, lots of trees downed that have been cleared and cut at the side of the road through Cathedral Grove, the Hump, and through Highway 4 in Parksville and Coombs and Arrington. Um, Looks like Highway 14 is still closed out to Port Renfrew. Um, as of yesterday, all of the roads headed to the west coast of the island, so 14, 4, 28, and Highway 30 to Port Alice had all been cut off by this storm. So massive amount of damage. The I know a lot of people in Port Alberni are still without power. Um, so let's go and look at that. The worst hit was certainly Beaver Creek. Again, Mount Arrowsmith, because these were purely easterly winds, and Mount Arrowsmith just happens to be directly east of the city of Port Alberni. So there's Port Alberni, and Mount Arrowsmith is essentially right there, directly east. And what appears to have happened is the wind came over Mount Arrowsmith. Port Alberni was close enough to the mountain that it was not, it was in the lee of the wind essentially, and then that wind dove down into Sprout Lake and Beaver Creek and Cherry Creek as well. So that's all it took. It just needed a little bit more distance from the mountain to come down and affect the valley. So can still see there's lots of outages in the valley. Um, what I'm going to try to do today is see if I can see in the data where that line was as far as the strongest winds, because a lot of these winds started to happen around 5 o'clock on the night on Tuesday night. And I know in the city at my station, my strongest wind was around 7:30. That's when we lost. That's around just around when we lost power. Um, so I'd really like to see where that line was because it might give us a good indication in the future of, where is the point that we can expect there to be protection from Mount Arrowsmith from these easterly winds, and where to expect the damage. I know from a friend that there was extreme winds on let me just see if I can find it here. Saunders. No. Where are you? It's always harder. I find there's Grandview. So it wasn't Grandview. Saunders. There, Drinkwater. Yeah. So I know from a friend who lives in this area of Beaver Creek that the winds were extremely strong here. So these people were heavily affected. Um, By comparison, folks on the lower part of Kitsuxis were not affected. But I just got word from School District 70 that the buses are not running between Batty Road and Best Road because of trees down or power lines down along Kitsuxis Road. So everywhere from about Cherry Creek, so from maybe the school, Cypress, or sorry, Cowley, so the former Cherry Creek School, um, all the way to uh, Drinkwater Road. We can start to draw a line as to where that damage was strongest, and that's going to give us an indication of how much protection Port Alberni as a city has from the winds, and what to expect next time we get a bomb cyclone off of the coast. Um, where we can expect these winds to be strongest. If you live in Sprout Lake, I'd be really interested to hear what your experience was with. When did the winds start to pick up? Was it right away? At 5 o'clock. Those are the times. 5 o'clock was the time that the airport saw the strongest, or the start of the strongest gusts. It was already in the 60s in at the airport, and there was nothing in town. So I'd be interested to hear from folks on Sprout Lake, either on Faber Road or Sterling Arm Drive, or Lakeshore. So if you live in those areas, or if you know someone who does, please let me know, and we can start to map out where these impacts were felt. Um, as I've said before, the biggest wind events in Port Alberni in the city have generally come from the southeast, and I think you can tell. I think this week's event was a good indication of why. So with Mount Arrowsmith, this is Mount Arrowsmith here. There's, I think it's about 10 kilometers from Mount Arrowsmith, the actual mountain, to the city limits. Um, if you look towards the southeast here, so in this sort of diagonal direction, the mountains aren't quite as high on that side. They flatten out a little bit. So that might be the reason why there's more of a fetch there for the winds to come down into the valley. There's Bainbridge Lake here, where it's fairly flat in here. So this fetch allows the winds to come down from the southeast, and come into Port Alberni. So that's kind of the theory I'm working on. Um, it would also explain why the southerlies, even though we get strong southerlies, they're often not our strongest uh, winds, and that's probably because of just the narrowness of the inlet and the high mountains along the Mint and Henderson Lake. So that southerly direction, and certainly southwest and westerly, those are all protected. We don't generally get super strong winds, but traditionally in the city, our strongest winds have been from the southeast, and I think it's down to topography here. With there's it's too bad there's no scale. I don't know why does Google Maps, they've done maps for God knows how long, and they never put a scale on their maps on their website. It's really ridiculous. So yeah, I think you can see here there's just more space here to the southeast of Port Alberni. We're only talking a matter of a few kilometers. If Mount Arrowsmith is right there, there's the main ridge, right? It sort of comes out, it bows out a little bit. So you need a good 5, 10, maybe 15 kilometers from the ridge in order for that wind to come down and affect the area. So let me just see. I'm going to bring up Google Earth here, and we'll see if we can measure that. But let's just see first. Oh, I should mention, because it is interesting, and it's always interesting to have the highest wind speeds. So in the media, there was talk of Sartine Island having 170 kilometer per hour winds. That's here, Sartine. That's just off of the northern tip of Vancouver Island. Cape Beale is right here on the very northern tip, and Sartine Island is beyond the tip there. So that was one of the highest wind speeds. I only saw, I mean, only 87 knots, which is 160 kilometers per hour. There might have been higher gusts that weren't reported. I was only looking at this website, so it may not have been reported here. Might be in other data, but the other major area for high winds was South Brooks. This is a buoy that's off of the north coast of Vancouver Island. Brooks Peninsula is here. So this is South Brooks buoy, and it was 86 knots. So 160 again kilometers per hour. So just amazing, amazing wind speeds from this bomb cyclone, as expected. And yeah, so let's. I have on another screen here. I have the Google Earth picture, so I'm just going to get this set up so we can see it. Um, okay, so let's bring this over. So here's Google Earth. So we can actually just see. I wonder if I can. Hmm, can we see? Yeah, there's Mount Aerosmith. Um, Let me just see if I can find a topographic map here. I have tons of maps in here, so I should be able to find a good topographic map. Ba, ba, ba. There we go, base maps. So contours, go. Let's see if that works. There we go. That's just what I wanted. So here's a contour map of the area. Now, hopefully, it'll give us great map, guys, but no legend. But that's okay. Doesn't really matter. Um, the important thing is we can see where the valley flattens out here. So if we look, you can see here there's, you know, this is the hill along the side of Highway 4. There's the Beauforts, right? Here's Cherry Creek. So this is all the valley, and the city of Port Alberni. So if we look at Mount Aerosmith, um, just let it fill in here. Uh, there we go. That's a little easier. So there's 1,400 meters. So there's 1,800. Is that 18? 16, 18. Can't remember. Can't see if that's actually 16 or 18. I think it's 16. But Mount Aerosmith is 1,800 meters. So there's the mountain directly east of Port Alberni. So if we measure this out, we can go straight from the top of the ridge is 14 kilometers. So about, yeah, 14, 15 kilometers. So that's the distance from that ridge. And if we look for, Grandview Road or Drinkwater, that should be here, I believe. Uh, yeah. So here's Grandview and Drinkwater. There it is. Um, so that's 18. So 18 or 19 kilometers. Um, and if we go straight from an easterly point, let's just see here. So we would be, it would be about, so if we go from 1200 meters, 11, yeah, so we're looking at, it's about 19 kilometers. So if we say 20 kilometers minimum um, needed to get that fetch so that the winds come down onto the city, it's pretty clear. We can actually see, here's the mountain just south of the city. Um, there's Arbutus Ridge. That's Dog Mountain. So you can see there's a little funnel here just to the southeast of the city. So that's probably the reason why uh, there is the strongest winds that I've been able to measure. That's almost where my house is, where Alberniweather is, right about there. So that's pretty much directly southeast. And if we take it from the highest point here, which would be about there, um, that's 13, 14 kilometers um, versus 15. Yeah. See, it may just be because these are lower peaks. So this is an 1800-meter peak, right? Mount Arrowsmith. So um, even though it's a little bit further away, it probably matters that it's not quite as high out here. I don't know if Mount Moriarty. Where's Mount Moriarty? I think that's Mount Moriarty there. Yeah, that should be Mount Moriarty. Um, so Mount Moriarty is the other mountain that you can see just to the southeast of the city. Off in the distance, you can usually see it's covered in snow. Um, so that one is uh, so 16. So that's 12. So yeah, it's about 1600 meters. Um, and that's to the southeast, right? So that gives you a lot more fetch for those winds to come down. These ones here, this is about 1,000 meters. Um, that's 11 kilometers. Yeah. So, that 1,000 meter difference or 800 meter difference between Mount Arrowsmith and the mountains to the southeast here, the hills to the southeast. That's enough to make up the difference in the distance for those winds to come down. So I think that's probably the reason why the city itself didn't see huge high winds until the very peak of the storm. Um, but that explains it. So let's go look at some of these weather stations. Now I'll go. So there's Tall Star, Doug, we're at 12. I'll just so this is my station. Um and we'll just go to the table here and go back to the 19th. There we go. So if we look around 7 o'clock, so here's 5 o'clock. So 13, 10, 19. So there's 6:30, 29. Yeah, see, we were getting, other places were getting huge amount of wind by then, but nothing here. I'll see, it doesn't show up. I wonder if it doesn't show because the power went out, so it didn't actually upload that data. So let's go to my text records here, which should be fully updated. Let's see. I haven't looked at these yet, so um, this is an experiment. So let's go see. There's the 19th. So the text records here are uploaded every 5 minutes, um, and they should have it for us. So let's see. Dun, 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 dun. So wind is down here. $31. There we go. So that was our peak right there, 745, 66 kilometers per hour, and 755, 50 kilometers an hour. So that's the peak for Alberni weather station. Let's go see if we can see any of the other ones. So I'm just going to go to the main station and look at historical data. And let's go and see the Alberni airport. So there's the airport. We want the 19th. And that's the hourly data. So here's the hour data for the 19th. The wind is in the middle here. So 41. Oh, I know it got up higher than that. I saw it on the website. So it says 41 there. Interesting. Let's go to, yeah, interesting. Let's go to the almanac and look at the daily data. And it might have the max wind speed there. Yeah, there it is. So I don't know why it's not in the hourly data, but there's the max wind speed. So at the airport in Port Alberni, it got up to 78. And if we go back to the hourly, let's just look at when the max would have been, just based on so this is probably sustained speed rather than gusts, which is why it doesn't show the 78. So the maximum there was at 6 o'clock, for sustained speeds. So it might have been in that 6 o'clock hour, rather than the 7 o'clock hour, when we saw it in Port Alberni. So that's the speeds that the airport got to, um, and yeah, so there's the maximum that we saw. So okay, I think I've gone on that enough. We need to look at the forecast coming, because we do have another bit of wind and rain coming. Not nearly as bad, but still it's going to be something to look for, because we already have people without power. So here's the next system. This is much more traditional system. It's not a bomb cyclone, but it is packing some big winds. So there's 100-kilometer-an-hour winds on the Oregon coast, and if I back this up a little bit, it does have a little bit of a front in front of it here. Coming in on Friday morning. So there's some strong winds off of the west coast of Tofino, coming in Friday morning, and then Friday evening, we can expect this low to come in. So this is 981. So not the 940. I believe actually the bomb cyclone was measured or analyzed at about 945, was the lowest number that I saw. So this is 981, not nearly as strong, but still plenty strong for our purposes. And we can see there's some 100-kilometer-an-hour winds offshore. We can see strong winds in the Strait of Georgia. So I would again expect ferry cancellations. Uh, Probably not until, maybe maybe the last ferry on Friday. Hopefully, doesn't look like it really picks up until later in the afternoon. So there's those strong winds. So hopefully not until the late ferries might be canceled, but the evening ferries hopefully should still be okay. So we can see, and it's still the low continues to go down here. And this one we maybe let's just zoom in to see what the winds are. These are southerly, so we shouldn't see a huge amount of wind in Port Alberni from the southerly direction. We should be mostly protected there. This low will move up the coast and then curl back. So we can see it. Oh, interesting. It just sort of stays there. Um, yeah, strange patterns. Um, it's not normal that it would just stay up. Usually they go straight up towards the north end and end up going into the central coast. But this one is just going to kind of hang out there, sort of like the bomb cyclone did. So um, it's still out there as well. So there you go. So that's what to expect for Friday. So Friday night. Um, we'll get some more wind, mostly on the west and east coast. There shouldn't be a huge amount in Port Alberni, but we'll keep an eye on it. And as far as rain goes, we can go and look at that. Um, there's our rain map, so you can see it coming up. There's the low out to the ocean. 7 o'clock Friday morning looks like rain will start mostly on the South Island and on the East Coast. There's a bit of a shadow here from the mountains, uh, at least to start, and then it will fill in as that low comes in a little closer. On Friday evening, the whole island should be in rain. So we can see there's some strong rain on the central part of the island towards the north. Um, and with rain continuing in Port Alberni, Nanaimo, Orkney, and the rest. So we can expect rain through Friday night into Saturday morning. This low is going to stay out there. It'll probably stay a little blustery on Saturday, with rain coming through periodically. Um, Looks like Sunday as well. Continuing into Sunday afternoon, it looks like it has finally dried out a little bit. So Friday night, windy again, mostly on the east and west coast. There shouldn't be a huge amount of wind in the valley, but keep an eye out for just the debris that's already out there can be dangerous just from flying around. So there you go. I hope this was helpful. Stay safe out there. I hope the storm wasn't too bad in your area, or you were able to recover fairly quickly. Um, I know we were out of power for about an hour, which is most that we've been out for quite a long time. We're lucky to be on the power line that we are in the city, in the central part of the city. So we don't get a power loss very often. I know there's still lots of people out Beaver Creek that are without power. There's trees down on the power lines out there. Please, if you see any trees down, and if they're anywhere near any power pole, don't go near them. Don't try to clean them up. Let the professional folks come in and do that job. They're working with BC Hydro, and they have all of the safety gear in place. So please let people do the work, and hopefully everything will be back up and running soon. Okay, thanks for watching, and we'll talk again soon. This is the Alberni Weather Podcast. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll be back another time soon. Okay.